Tonight on PM Express, a conversation about the relocation of the Ameri plant to Kumasi. You recall the 250 megawatt power production plant was handed over to the government of Ghana by the African and Middle East Resources Investment Group. Now, government says it is relocating the 10-unit barge with the capacity to generate 25 megawatt each, totaling 250 megawatts, which is commissioned on natural gas to Anwomaso in Kumasi. The minorities today questioning the use of the $35 million, translating into about 250 million cedis, to relocate the plant. It is also demanding answers to why Miscellaneous International Trading Company is the one to do the relocation. The same company the minority says was involved in the innovation and amendment of the Ameri contract that almost swindled Ghanaians, but for the vigilance of the minority. Let me refresh your minds on the Ameri deal and how we got here. And so we just asked the question, is 250 million cedis costs for relocation justified? But this is how it all began. Now, the minority in Parliament raised the concerns about the $35 million. And if you look at the current cedi to dollar rate, it will give you 278 million Ghana cedis. That's as of today. If you want to change $35 million to cedis, this is what you get. Let's look at the breakdown. And the minority have been demanding for a breakdown of that 35 million cost for the relocation. There are other issues that they are raising. They've raised issues about why government is seeking to introduce Miscellaneous, a company involved in the 2018 Ameri scandal, into the relocation deal. There are other questions that have been asked. Why are you not asking VRA to do it? Because VRA has the capacity to do that. Now, it says that the planned expenditure is alarming and government must put it on hold immediately. The question is, what is actually the independent assessment that shows that this is on the higher side? So this is the majority leader, Seche Sabonso, asking or announcing to Mr. Speaker that there will be a relocation. He says, Mr. Speaker, in 2020, the country had an adequate generation capacity to meet the demand for domestic, commercial, and industrial customers. In 2021, however, the Ameri plant will be relocated to Kumasi to help stabilize the national grid. Now, this conversation came up again in March this year, and today the minority are raising questions. What is the background? Now, the $510 million power deal was signed between Ghana and Africa Middle East Resources Investment Group in 2015. This was at a time when the country was reeling under heavy power crisis. You ask yourself, what is our situation now? So the plant's generation capacity, it has a 10-unit barge. It has a capacity to generate 25 megawatt each, and its total capacity is about 250 megawatts. And the takeover by government was done recently. So, so it was handed over to government fully by the company that was managing it. But government says it could rake in about $31 million annually from power export, and $4 million are saving on transmission loss cutback. What does this mean? Doesn't this mean anything for those who are asking for justification for the 35 million cost? So that will be the thrust of our conversation tonight. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll have a full swing of the conversation. Welcome back to PM Express. My name is Ayisha Ibrahim. I've been joined by Chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, Samuel Atachia. He's also MP for Abuakwa South constituency. Now, John Jinapo is ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee and MP for Yape Kusogo. And I've also been joined by Kwame Jantwa, who is an energy policy advisor. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for your time.
Good evening.
Let me start with you, Atachia. You're the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. Why has it become necessary to relocate the plant?
I'm tempted to come to conclusions that
it will go and augment the power supply to the northern part of the nation. That is the common sense position we've gotten. As to the policy reasons, the committee haven't gotten anything to that effect. That is, I'm just surmising that it is very necessary that it will not be of great benefit to it sitting freely at the, western region of Ghana. But if it were ferried to the Kumasi area, it will add to the power supply.
That you need to fix the power grid in Kumasi, but experts say instead of relocating the plant, which will be just for a short term, it will stabilize power for a short term, but will be expensive. Why not rather build a robust infrastructure that will guarantee a long-term power flow? Isn't this the way to go?
A very serious committee on mines and energy will interrogate these matters. That's why I feel that it's very premature to begin to talk about these matters, because my good friend and ranking Honorable Jinapo is well aware that we can demand every conceivable document that will speak to the issue. We can even grill, the Minister for Energy on these matters. We can file questions for him to come and answer. But I'm of the humble view that when something is in the stage and formative stage, it's a bit premature to put in the public domain and people might get confused. I don't believe that it is opportune to have the full facts. We need to, let it lie. We know how we use the powers of parliament to secure what we want. And then when we are armed with information, we'll be able to tell a good story.
Let me bring in John Jinapo, who is your ranking on the Mines and Energy Committee. What exactly is your problem as a minority in Parliament? Is it the relocation, the cost involved in the relocation, or the purpose for which it is being taken there?
Thank you very much. First of all, may I know whether my voice is audible?
Say that again.
Am I loud and clear?
Definitely, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me just quickly chip in. Normally, when you transmit power over a long distance, normally when power is being transmitted, there's something called resistance. So if you transmit it over a very long distance, by the time it gets there, the efficacy in terms of the voltage goes low. And so if you have the generator closer to you, you reduce a lot of the losses. Other than that, then you have to upgrade the system like you're saying, by getting some booster stations and also the wires or the cables that you transmit. That's why we decided to move from 161 to 330 kVA. It has bigger capacity, it has much strength, it's able to wheel much power, it's resilient, it makes the system stronger. So there are two options. Either you boost the transmission mechanism by putting some more primary bulk substations along the line and improving the transmission lines, or you do some embedded power. So you take Ameri to Kumasi, and then you have we power up there. That way you have a system balance, and then you are able to augment and stabilize the system. I guess that is why the government is thought it prudent. And like you said, the Ameri plant is a modular plant, 250 TM 250 gas-fired engine plants. And so even with limited gas, you can run 4 plants, 5 plants. It gives you that flexibility and that ability to adjust. Let me come quickly to the question you asked. What is our problem? I agree, Chairman has a point. He has every right to administer and proffer suggestions. But as a minority, we also determine how to move on with our business. We thought that the time has come for us to caution government. Because I've just laid hands on more documents today, and from the figures I'm seeing, it's even more than the 35. Firstly, we believe that miscellaneous must not even be involved in this whole transaction. And so it's a no-no. So don't even attempt to engage miscellaneous, given the frosty relationship we had with them, which culminated in the sacking of the then minister. You would recall that the Ameri Innovation, it was this same miscellaneous company that got involved. That is one. Two is that we believe that the plant must be handed over to VRA. We don't need to wait for additional documents. We are well aware that the 6-year contract has run its full length. Through the BOOT agreement, the plant has been paid for. It has another 20 years of capacity in terms of its useful life. And from what the minister even put at a conservative figure of 35 million, it means that it will making 700 million over its lifespan. VRA has the capacity. They've run T1, T2, KTPP, they've run the thermal plants, they've run several other plants. And so, given that their expertise is within the GE plant, and this is a GE plant, a General Electric plant, I have an issue. We had envisaged that once we conclude or run the BOOT, the plant must go to VRA. So even before you do anything, revert and hand over the plant to VRA so that they can capitalize. When they take possession of the plant, they will then determine how to go about it. But as it stands, there's confirmation that VRA has had a negotiation and prior agreement with Miscellaneous. Miscellaneous will do the pre-financing. Let me make this clear. Miscellaneous will do the pre-financing. Having done the pre-financing, VRA has had to establish a letter of credit, an LC, in favor of Miscellaneous. An LC simply means that you are putting a guarantee for them so that payment would flow. In addition to that, Miscellaneous will bring their staff to man the plant. We find this extremely untidy. We find that worrisome. And that is why we thought that we should bring it to the fore. Even as my able chairman leads us to call for additional documents, we are convinced that this is the time to state our position publicly. Some of which the documents wouldn't change in any case, because if we say you must hand over the plant to VRA, you don't need to bring any additional document to change that position. If we say that Miscellaneous shouldn't be involved in this whole deal, you don't need any additional document. I don't think that VRA's capacity, especially looking at their balance sheet, and Chairman would agree that there's been some level of improvement, especially with the flows from ESLA. They can raise that amount on their own balance sheets, own that plant, run it, and then there won't be any encumbrance. That is why we thought that we needed to raise all these issues today. And I think that we are well grounded in doing so.
Now, you talk about the $35 million that is too expensive. Have you done any independent assessment to show that it could be lesser than the $35 million?
Oh, yes. Some of us have been in this sector, and we know that when you are relocating a plant, there are some basic assumptions. We also know that even if you need a switchyard, and the switchyard is what you need to transmit that power. I mean, we just appeared before us. That switchyard is about 5 million. And so we've done some back of the envelope calculations, and we are convinced that 35 is too much. I've also done some independent background checks, and I've seen a lot of padding in terms of employee benefits and all that being added as part of the cost, and all kinds of training and all kinds of ancillary expenditure that we find quite worrisome. And when I use padding, I use that advisedly, because I've given you the things that I think can be trimmed off in terms of the cost to build up for this plant. But you see, the bottom line is that give the plant VRA. There's also the issue of Article 181 Clause 5, which has to do with an international agreement. Miscellaneous is an international company. And so we cautioned that don't proceed with that policy. Don't proceed with any commitments in terms of financial outlay. Submit this agreement to Parliament first, because VRA, in accordance with the Public Financial Management Act, is a covered entity, is an authority, it's not a limited liability company. And so whether VRA or the Ministry of Energy, if you are entering into an agreement with Miscellaneous, it falls under Article 181. Moreover, VRA doesn't even own the plant. The plant is the property of the government of Ghana. So what is the agreement between VRA and government, and how is VRA signing on that agreement with Miscellaneous? It's quite murky, and we thought that we should sound caution. We have several ways of doing that, and so we thought that this is one of the options that we should use. And it's generated quite some interest. It's generated less profile, issues, let's discuss it. And I'm sure at the end of the day, based on the assessments that we make, we'll determine a way forward as a country.
Mr. Tachia, I'm sure you want to respond to those fundamental issues he raised. With miscellaneous, he talks about the fact that they've been involved in the renewing or amending the contract, which led to a whole lot of issues. And so they think they should not be involved in this particular one. In any case, can't VRE handle this situation?
Well, I do not know the full extent and the consideration for saying that this same company should come in and take over the running of the plant when we have our own VRA to do it. I wouldn't want to answer to that. That is why I said it's a bit premature, because you bring the minister before the committee, answer these questions. You do not know the full factors. And maybe my ranking knows more than I do about some of these matters. But to be very, very honest, and to give you what I would call a balanced diet, you need to hear the voice of the minister. Because at the end of the day, it's a bit unfortunate for anybody to say that in the face of what will bring us the optimum advantage, we should nevertheless go and give it to a company that we have had issues with. So for now, what I want to say that it is important that we try to come to terms with why our own VRA will not run the plant and go to 35 million to a company outside. But what he said, which brings me to the same point I was urging upon you, that it seems to me that this press conference was premature. And he has said that when anything concerns an international company and it has economic implications for Ghana, it should be filtered to the parliament. Set the law right. Therefore, as far as we're concerned now, maybe people are trying to go and fetch some ingredients to prepare it. It's not cooked yet. But whatever it is, it will be null and void, and no point can be paid to this foreign company until and unless their contract is approved by Parliament. So he's very, very right on point on that. When you asked him the pointed question that do you have a counterfactual situation as to how to bring a plan from that long distance to, I said, I know my brother is very, very well versed in energy matters. It was amazing. It's not succeeded in telling you yet, but that huge facility, what is the means of doing that and the rest of it? I believe that we can squeeze out of the ministry all the minutest of the details. And then we'll be able to know whether we have value for money. If not, it's financial laws of the state, and everybody's running away from that law.
Mr. Kwame Jantua. Right. Go ahead, Mr. Jinapo.
Mr. Jantua, please, with your permission. Chairman, you are right when you say that without Parliament approving such agreements, you cannot make any financial outlay. But you see, there's a popular saying that the memory of the dead is a warning to the living. If you do recall, the Sputnik V vaccine did not come to Parliament, and yet the finance minister transmitted monies and made payments to Sheikh Al Maktoum. So we've been through this path before. We've witnessed that before. That is why we are cautioned that having gone through that process with the Sputnik V vaccine, where payments were made on the blind side of Parliament, it's only proper that we caution this government not to tread that path again. Thank you very much for indulging me.
Mr. Jantua, what's your verdict, or what does your research show? Is there really a life and death situation to move the plant?
Well, as good evening to our viewers and good evening to my two friends. As the chairman of the committee indicated, the committee has the right to call in the minister and call in anybody they want to talk to with regards to this particular deal. But what I have found out is that Miscellaneous is owned by two brothers, be it John and Eva Miscellaneous. Now, it's made up of a number of companies. There's AL, which is an integrated aluminum company. There is Protigia, which is a power generation company. There's M&S, which is a gas cylinder company. And there is Metka, which is an EPC company. Now, these companies used to work independently, but they have now come under Miscellaneous as a holding company. So they are working under the holding company of Miscellaneous. So they are not an individual company anymore. And because of that, they have had to come into the deal. Now, what I understand is happening is that VRA, who have led these negotiations since 2021, felt that, well, Miscellaneous Metka was the one that built the plant in Tema. And so if we're going to move it, why do we bring somebody else? When you look at the amounts of money that we're talking about, at the time, ASEP said that probably the plant should cost about 200 and something million instead of the 300 million. And the O&M should cost maybe around some, what figure did I get? The O&M will cost around 80 million. They said 220 and 80 million. What the price was then was 360. 300 for the plant and 60 for everything. Now, if you subtract, there's a balance there, which shows that the installation that was put in at the time was about 80 million. Now, the breakdown I have to do with this particular stuff, because what's going to happen, they are going to dismantle the whole plant. They are going to have to make sure that because of the delicate nature of the plant, they're going to have to make sure that it is dismantled very, very, very properly. They're going to have to buy new things like cables, switches, all that. And then they're going to have to move it, transport it. And I understand, even in transporting it, there's a 7-kilometer stretch of road that needs to be done. Now, some of the breakdown I have got for the 35 million is dismantling and packaging, transportation, goods in transport insurance, site preparation in Kumasi. They need to make sure that the retained yard is taken care of, the switch yard and the drainage and all that needs to be done to actually put the plant in place. Metka is supposed to finance this particular move, and they will be paid within 3 years. With regards to the staff, I understand that only 2 members of Metka would be there. The rest would be VRA staff. So when you look at the entire thing, I think the onus would be on the committee to make sure that the right questions are asked, to make sure that what the opposition found out earlier with the Metka's, the miscellaneous deal previously, doesn't happen, and it goes strictly according to what has been put down. For me, I think the movement of the Ameri plant to the Kumasi area is a good thing, because it will help the middle belt in Ghana in terms of electricity. And as Honorable Janapo rightly said, if you put the plant far away and you're trying to transport electricity, you lose some, and that is wasted. So I think the ball is in the court of the Mines Committee to make sure that the right thing is done. But at this point, I think it's a bit premature, and yes, we should raise it. But once we get the nitty-gritties, it would happen that even that 35 million could be too small for what we want to do.
Mr. Tachia, I want you to confirm that breakdown for me, what Mr. Kwame Jantua has just said, the breakdown of the $35 million we're talking about.
And good lady, we don't have the breakdown of the $5 million. This is the first time hearing. That's what I said. We want to have a proper discourse. If you want to inform the nation, we want to put the Minister for Finance on his toes, all these things we can exact from him, and then we can do serious, interrogation. What Mr. Jantua is saying, if it is true, if you said, oh, you want to ferry a plant from the Western region to Kumasi, and it's a whopping 35 million. So the uninitiated, oh, what kind of monumental transportation is this one? But when he tells you that a delegate machine should be dismantled, transportation systems and the rest of it, even insurance, operation of the site and the rest of them all put together will probably amount to 35 million. Then maybe when we have industry understanding, this is not anything unusual. So I will plead with my ranking that I will give him all my cooperation, and I know he gives me the cooperation all the time, for us to really bring the key players in this whole, situation before us, and then we can ask very fundamental questions. We also promise that there's not going to be a kangaroo session. We will certainly give Joy FM all that you need, because it behoves this government to be transparent about everything, and if we don't, it could be a problem.
Mr. Atachian, the other issue that has been raised by your minority colleagues is the fact that, yes, it may be good, but looking at our economic situation, we must halt the relocation, and they're explaining that the power sector debt is ballooning. Last year, for instance, we had to borrow 9 billion to be able to supply power. Now your colleagues are saying let's halt the transaction for now because of our current economic challenges. Isn't this a legitimate call?
No. Can I correct that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're not saying don't transfer it. We are saying that don't bring in miscellaneous.
Okay.
That's our problem. Don't bring in miscellaneous, because we've had serious issues with them. For me, they haven't proven to be credible. And so hand the plant over to VRA first. The contract has run its full length of 6 years. The first thing you should do is to transfer ownership to VRA. If you don't do that, you don't even proceed with the other ones. When you've transferred the plant to VRA, then VRA would sit and plan how to transfer the plant from Takoradi to Kumasi. Mr. Jantua talks about miscellaneous coming to train them with 2 people. This plan has been with us for 6 years. And if you read the original Ameri agreement, VRA was supposed to put their staff on secondment so that they would study how to operate the plant for 6 years. If within 6 years, VRA hasn't acquired expertise and knowledge in respect of managing that plant, and you need to bring just 2 people to ensure that the plant is run effectively and efficiently, it beats my mind. Knowing the technical capacity of the VRA staff, I am convinced that after these 6 years, they can confidently manage this. We've done that with Ghana Gas. Ghana Gas is much bigger and complex than these GHs250m plants. Within a period of 3 or so years, they had acquired all the necessary skills, and today the Ghana Gas plant is being managed fully by Ghanaian staff. They are putting those 2 people there because they are putting their money in this deal, and not because VRA doesn't have the technical capacity to man the plant. What they are saying is that if I'm putting 35 million in it, I want to ensure that I have my staff there so that my interest is protected. And we find all those things problematic. I know Chairman's fair-mindedness and everything, but I'm saying that, Chairman, irrespective of the meetings we have, as for these positions about transferring the plant to VRA, the position about bringing miscellaneous in this whole deal, and some other issues we've raised, they would remain paramount and will stand by them. My final issue has to do with the amount Mr. Jantua quoted. Some of us are energy economists. So if we say that a plant will cost 360 million today, and I do an agreement with somebody for 510 million over a 6-year period, you must understand that there's the issue of the time value of money. There's the issue of risk. There's the issue of interest. Just take 360 million and do a simple calculation using an 8% interest rate and do an amortization over 6 years. You will come to this 510 million. So yes, you could have gone to the bank, borrow 360 million and go and buy the plant. But don't forget that every year you will pay about 10% as interest on that 360 million. So it's very simplistic to just say that the plant is 360 million today. So why go and negotiate for an agreement of 510? You must take all these issues into account, compute it, and come to a fair value in terms of that 6-year period. Thank you.
Ms. Atachia, will it be difficult not to involve miscellaneous?
Actually, just a quick one. Just a quick one. At the present moment, I don't think there's a contract yet. I don't think any contract has been signed between anyone as yet. So once the contract is signed, then we can go into the nitty-gritties. These are figures that have been banded around. So once that contract is done, I'm sure the Minister of Energy and those who are part and parcel of this would come and explain to us what the actual figures are.
I'll deal with that after Honorable Atachia. This issue, I'll deal with it. I want my chairman to speak. I'd love to respect him. After that, I'll deal with this issue.
Yes, Mr. Atachia, I was asking if it would be difficult to set aside miscellaneous.
Well, you see, the ones who are running the government is not parliament. Therefore, this is an executive decision. If it is not tainted, ours is to look at all the constitutionalities and the rest of them so they govern. So this is a man who is in the government in waiting. He's not yet there yet. He's trying to profile his alternative views, which is entitled to. But as to the quality decision regarding who should run what and at what cost, it is the government of the day that will take that decision. But mindful of the fact that it has to filter through parliament for us to look at all the parameters and be sure. So I cannot take that decision as a member of parliament, but it is for the Minister for Energy who should appear and justify all the issues and more so address the concerns of ranking. Because I respect the position of ranking on some of these matters, but it seems to me that without hearing the other side, it's jumped to the media. And that is not what I prefer in trying to have a comprehensive and holistic understanding of a topical issue. Half the time, we don't listen well. We need to also listen to the view of the one who is running the government, the representative of the one who is running the government. And then we'll be able to say, no, Minister, the alternative, options are better. And the benefits of the alternative option far outweigh the position you've taken. And if we don't get your cooperation on what is good for Ghana, you'll find it extremely tough in trying to get your say-so through parliament. I think that's the way to go. But right now, as Mr. Janto has said, I sitting here as a chairman of the Committee on Mines and Energy, I've not even cited any document at all. So if something is not crystallized, why would you want to build arguments on it? It's difficult to do that. We need to see the document, and then we subject the document to proper scrutiny. If it is going to shortchange Ghana, it will be so obvious that it won't pass.
But the announcement was made by the majority leader in parliament. But let me bring in Mr. John Jinapo. Have you cited the document?
Yeah, let me clear this, that there is an agreement for a 35 million pre-financing. That is not in doubt.
I have not cited it.
Let me make this clear that at committee, VRA was clear that they've negotiated with miscellaneous and they've come to a firm value of 35 million. They have initialed this contract and submitted it to the Attorney General for advice so they can proceed by coming to Parliament or whatever. So as for the amount, it's not in doubt. As for the amount of 35 million, it's not in doubt. Yes. And so let's get...
Rankin, you are very much aware that you don't conclude a contract and then send it to the Attorney General for an opinion. Oh, you see, before you sign the contract, if the contract is very good for you and you want the best from the Attorney General, you send them the draft of the contract, say, this is a contract we are about to enter into. Can we have your opinion? But if you conclude
I thought I was on the floor.
The contract and they say that you want the opinion of the Attorney General, I'm afraid that is not, you are not seeking an advice at all. the opinion of the Attorney General will be redundant because you formed the opinion already. So why do you need the advice of the Attorney General? So the sense of
we are MPs, Honorable, you know very well
the sense
that
of
the Attorney General doesn't deal with the figures.
No, the sense of what I got in the at the committee level, which I thought it will virtually filter out to us, was that they were trying to come to terms with some understanding. Hence, even the necessity to seek the opinion of the Attorney General. But I don't know the facts you have. As far as I'm concerned, all that they are attempting to do, you know, and I'm so glad you quoted the Constitution, will be of no consequence until and unless it comes through Parliament for approval. When you have said maybe there have been some past misdeeds, you call them, but I don't think that some of these things they will be so audacious to ignore Parliament and go and pay a whopping $35 million to a company when they've not sought approval. I think I will credit the current Minister for Energy with some sensitivity and Ghanaianness and the fear of the law that he will not go that far.
I think my line got truncated. You see, let's reduce this to 1 or 3 or 4 issues. Point number 1, I'm saying that transfer the plant to VRA. Do we all agree that the plant should be transferred to VRA or not? You don't need any further documents on that. That is 1. 2 is I'm saying that given the background of miscellaneous, you don't need to involve miscellaneous in this agreement. 3 is that there is confirmation. And I know Joy FM after today, you would also talk to industry players, and I will share some documents with you, that they've come to a firm value of 35 million. That is not in doubt. The final one that my chairman talks about, we've all been ministers before. When you go to the Attorney General, it's about the legal issues with the contract. The Attorney General usually doesn't do value for money assessments. What the Attorney General will be doing is to look at the legal crafting of the agreement, whether it meets the legal tenets or conditions that you've set for yourselves. But as for value for money, it's normally not within the remit of the Attorney General. And that is why this issue that you even raised about whether the plant should even be relocated to Ameri, that's why we decided not to go there. Because we want to do a cost-benefit assessment, even in terms of relocating the plant, as against improving the transmission lines of GHs250m. Because you can also achieve the same aim by improving the transmission lines and upgrading them from 161 to 330. And you can wield that amount of power in an efficient and an effective way. And GHs250m told us at committee that they needed just 5 million. If you recall, they needed just 5 million to construct a backbone in terms of a bulk supply point to control the system. So we've raised a lot of issues, some of which are current, some of which I agree with Chairman that as we move on and as we engage further, we would get clarity. But we are saying that immediately transfer the plant to VRA. I don't think you need to wait on anything. If you don't transfer the plant, don't even go ahead and begin to sign all these agreements. Let that plant be property of VRA. Let them capture it. Let them acknowledge receipt. Then they will then be negotiating from a position of strength. I think it's a legitimate call.
So,
well, I humble view that these considerations are important, and I believe they'll be thinking like you. That is why I'm saying that the best way of engagement is to bring the minister. But for all you know, there are some considerations you don't have. And he is in a position to tell us why he has better options than what we are suggesting. So we'll do that exercise and we'll share it with the general public.
But Mr. Tachina, what do you think as chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee? Should we bring in miscellaneous with all the explanations that has been given by your colleagues in the minority?
You see, I've been trained to be balanced in my judgment. And therefore, it behoves me to listen to the Minister for Energy and if you question the validity of his decisions. Why is it that you will not hand over the plant to VRA next door for them to do what they know how to do best, and the rest of them? So, not that I'm not understanding what they are saying. I do understand them so well, but I cannot judge a situation one-sided. I need to listen to the minister. Then we can have a very informed, position that, oh, the reason why the minister is doing what he is trying to do, which is against what the opposition is suggesting, is because of A, B, C, and D. When you measure the validity of what the opposition is saying against what the minister is trying to do, the opposition has superior arguments which you inure to the benefit of the country. Mr. Minister, I think the opposition is making very, very valid points for the benefit of the nation. Better listen to the opposition. But if, on the other hand, you listen and the balance tells in favor of the minister, my lady, you need to listen to both sides. If not, you are not doing what is right.
I'll take a break on PM Express. When I return, that's Mr. Jinapo, you want to make a point? All right, so I'll take a break. When I return, Mr. Jinapo makes a very fundamental point there. He talks about revamping or making GHs250m strong with just 5,000. Then we can decide not to move the Ameri plants to Kumasi because it will serve the same purpose. When I return from this break, I'll be finding out what the chairman of the committee makes of this suggestion. I'll also be finding out from you, Mr. Jantwa, what should be the way forward, from here. Stay with me. Welcome back to PM Express. We're still talking about $35 million scheduled to transfer or relocate Ameri plant to Kumasi. Before we went on the break, Mr. John Jinapo suggested that, to spend this amount, which is almost over 250 million cities, to transport the Ameri plant to Kumasi, we could do the same thing with just $5,000 with GHs250m. Then they will be equipped to supply the same amount of power that the same megawatts of power that the Ameri plant will be supplying. This is an alternative, Ms. Atachia.
It sounds logical. It sounds a good alternative. I will not rebuff that, but I want to stress that it is very important for good governance that the minister should explain why this juicy alternative is not being depended upon, rather than you're going to spend so much. So if the minister is not being cost effective, the facts will catch up with him. So I do not think that I should reject outright the wisdom of Rankin and the rest of them. But I am insisting that you need to hear the man in the saddle. You need to hear Napo speak on these issues. And then we'll be able to say, Napo, we've heard your side of the story. These are the superior arguments. And for the sake of the financial health of this nation, there's no way your alternative should hold sway. And he knows the numbers in Parliament. If you want to filter through, an international agreement, you might not get the kind of consensus you need to have it passed. So these matters can be looked at. But I'm saying that let's give him the space to explain himself.
Mr. Jantwa, what do you make of, in fact, building a robust infrastructure with the local people that we have, like GHs250m, instead of relocating this power plant?
From my investigation, I understand GHs250m have done the assessment. And in the assessment, they have come to the conclusion that it would be better to move Ameri to a new location in Kumasi than give the money to GHs250m to do it. That's what they said to me. But let's remember that Metka is now under Metlenus, under this company. Is it Metlenus? That's what they're called. They are now holding company. So, John, I think it's going to be very difficult to detract Metka from Metlenus. Because Medca built the plant, yes? If Medca built the plant, why bring another company in to do the dismantling? Yes, I do agree. We need to interrogate the amounts of money that we're talking about. Now, John, if you indicate that a contract has been signed, could you give us the breakdown of the 35 million so that we can see whether it is cost-worthy to use 35 million to do what they say they want to do?
But Mr. Jantwa, if you have only two miscellaneous people and the rest from VRA, why not VRA?
Well, do we have the money? Because miscellaneous are the ones who are financing it. We aren't financing it. They are financing it. That is what I understand. And definitely, if they are financing it, then how can VRA come in? I think at this point, and remember that it was through Ameri, the title was taken from Medca through Ameri for Ghana, even when we owed them about $16 billion US. So that title, I understand, has been transferred to Ghana already. Maybe it hasn't officially been handed over to VRA, because I understand VRA has been in the negotiations since 2021. So there is some quasi-ownership by VRA. But yes, we have the committee in Parliament. Let us look at the nitty-gritties. Let us look at what it involves. Let us look at the money. But most of all, Ayisha, as you rightly said, we need to build a robust electricity system, because as we're going forward, there are two things that would move this economy of Ghana: energy and agriculture. And you need both to move into industrialization if you want to do industrialization on the big stage. So it is important that we are able to distribute our electricity infrastructure into strategic parts of the country to be able to achieve some of the developments we want to do. I'm sure if the NDC happen to come into power, or if the CPP happen to come into power, energy would be a key factor, as it's a key factor for the present government, to make sure that we can do the kind of projects that we want to do to move this country forward. So, yes, let's interrogate the figures. Let's interrogate the people who are coming. Let's interrogate especially the local content bit through VRA, how Ghana will benefit in that, and let's move the project forward.
Mr. Jinapo, so why do you want a company that built the plant to be set aside for another company to dismantle it?
Let me deal with this issue. This issue is a financing issue. It's not a technical issue. And Mr. Jamto himself says they don't have the money. So it's not about a contractor. It's about financing. And there's one level of financing which is different from the issue of contracting any other company to come and work for you. But
that's also important. Do we have the money to finance it ourselves?
I'm saying that VRA, looking at their balance sheet, $35 million, this state Ghana should be able to help with any financial term. You can go to any financial institution and raise 35 million. You can do that. It's an option. And I'm saying, given our background with miscellaneous, the question rather should be, are they the only who can give us money? Let's even assume VRA doesn't have the money. Is miscellaneous the only company? Did we seek other opinions? Did we try others? Did we talk to some financial institutions? Why must we necessarily at all costs going to miscellaneous?
When are you bringing the Minister for Power to answer all these questions?
But quickly, I have not said that an agreement has been executed. I'm saying that VRA and miscellaneous have agreed on a 35 million deal. What they are doing now is to consummate it in terms of going through the Attorney General and those processes. And we are saying that we don't even want miscellaneous in this whole scenario. So don't miss that too, to say that it means that a contract has been signed. And I think Chairman has explained that very well. Now we say that, look, Medca managed it. So you need Medca again in Kumasi. And my point is that if for 6 years, the VRA staff have not acquired the technical knowledge to manage that plant, I don't think that 2 years would make any change. And I'll use the Tuabo gas processing plant as an example. But we'll continue to engage. Chairman, we respect you. You are somebody we respect a lot. Your points are valid, just as our points are valid. But but we have made very, very strong, serious, cogent points. We'll pursue those points to its logical conclusion. And as Chairman said, very soon, a lot of issues will come up. Even in terms of the LC, Chairman will get to know the real issue with the LC, when the LC was established and why the LC was established.
When I bring in the minister to explain to you all these issues you're raising?
I can't usurp his authority.
Well, it will not be too long because even it's become topical already, and he owes it to himself to come quickly to clarify the issue. So it won't be too long at all. In fact, I have to liaise with ranking and also the clerk, and very soon we will give you some indication when the minister should come and look at these matters critically with us.
I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen, for joining me. Atachia is the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament. John Jinapo is his ranking member on that committee. Kwame Jantwa is an energy policy advisor. I'm grateful that all of you joined us. Viewers, thank you so much for watching. My name is Ayisha Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of our programs.